terror attack mounted by Hamas terrorists against Israel early this morning. Israel death toll now mounts to over 40. Israel strikes back at Hamas terror attack. U.S. President Joe Biden speaks to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Biden says U.S. in full solidarity with Israel. At least 198 Palestinians killed in Israel counter-offensive. So that's the latest that's coming in. U.S. President Joe Biden has spoken to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Remember that Israel has struck back at Hamas terror attack.
Since this morning, the state of Israel has been at war. Our first objective is to clear out the hostile forces that infiltrated our territory and restore the security and quiet to the communities that have been attacked. The second objective, at the same time, is to exact an immense price from the enemy, within the Gaza Strip as well. The third objective is to reinforce other fronts so that nobody should mistakenly join this war. We are at war. In war, one needs to be level-headed. I call on all citizens of Israel to unite in order to achieve our highest goal, victory in the war.
Lauren Isaacs, activist from Jerusalem, is joining us right now. Lauren, thank you so much for speaking to India today. We'd like to understand what's the latest because you're on the ground at the moment. What's happening on the ground? What are the reports that are coming in from the southern part of Israel? Lauren, are you able to hear me? Am I audible? Okay, we're going to try and reconnect with Lauren Isaacs, who's an activist. She's in Jerusalem at the moment. We'll try and get in a word from her as to what the latest ground situation is. But the breaking piece of information that we're bringing to you right now is that U.S. President Joe Biden has spoken with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Lauren is back with us. Lauren, if I'm audible to you at the moment, if you can tell us what are the reports on the ground at the moment, because you're right there. If you could just update us on the current situation, the reports that are coming in from the southern part of Israel. Lauren.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm here based in Jerusalem. The southern of Israel, well, the entirety of Israel is in war right now. We're in an official war situation, in a state of emergency, but the south is completely in the control of Hamas, the Islamic terrorist group who has infiltrated through the Gaza border. And we've seen rocket fire, thousands and thousands of rockets all throughout Israel during the day, including here in Jerusalem, and especially in the south. Right now, the latest numbers we have coming to you are 100 Israelis are dead and 800 to 900 are wounded and in hospital, with more in critical condition. And unfortunately, it's a very, very serious situation here in Israel. Right now in the south, Hamas has control of over a dozen Israeli towns on Israeli soil. They have control right now, and Israel is engaging with them in a ground war in order to try and liberate those towns, free the Israeli people there who are being held hostage, and save the lives of innocent civilians and save the lives of the soldiers. But right now it is a very serious situation, and this is a war that is unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this in Israel's history, and we haven't had a war at all in 50 years since the Yom Kippur War.
That's right. If you can update us as to how many areas and communities are currently being held hostage or captive by Hamas?
Right now, it's an undisclosed amount because the information coming out of Hamas's news media channels is not entirely reliable. But being corroborated with Israeli media, we know that around 14 towns in southern Israel were taken by Hamas, occupied, captured, and still currently at least 3 are being held. Be'eri, I don't know if you've heard of that town. Right now, Hamas is holding that town captive with 50 Israeli hostages inside the town. So it is a very, very serious situation. And as of yet, we do not have control in the south.
Okay. Emmanuel Keith Soros, who's at the Jerusalem City Center, is also joining us. Lauren, stay on with us. Emmanuel, these are the reports that, of course, Lauren is picking up from her various sources. What are you hearing in terms of, various locations that are being held hostage or captive, or how many Israelis possibly are under threat at the moment as we speak, being held hostage by Hamas?
Right. So as we know that it started from morning at about 5:36 6 a.m. Until now, the death toll has risen. The number of injured is about 908 right now. Over
Okay, we seem to have some network problem with Emmanuel. We'll try and repatch him. Lauren Isaacs is also joining us. She's an activist. She's on the ground and she's bringing us some of the very disturbing reports that we're picking up from the media there as well. In terms of the retaliatory action, Lauren, by the Israeli Defense Forces, what more can you tell us about that?
Right now, Israel is running behind, basically. We are trying to liberate the towns in the south. We are trying to save the hostages. We are trying to prevent more lives lost on the Israeli side. And only after we liberate the towns and cleanse the southern area of all the terrorists will we be able to begin discussing the depth of an offensive attack. But right now, we are still trying to save the Israelis who are being held captive down south and liberate the towns where the terrorists have taken over.
Right. Lauren, stay on with us. Emmanuel is back with us. Emmanuel, I see that you're moving around in the Jerusalem city center. Can you give us a sense, probably through the pictures behind you, about the heightened sense of security on the ground right now in Jerusalem?
So there is it's really tense right now in Jerusalem. There's a lot of police and security personnel moving around in the city center, and it looks like everyone is sort of a suspect, you know. They're being questioned. I was questioned twice about what I'm doing out in the streets. There is also a curfew in the city right now from 5 p.m. Israel local time till tomorrow morning. And it has been said that all of the residents have to be in home or return home as soon as possible, because there could be a possible retaliation from the strongholds in Bethlehem. Hamas strongholds from Bethlehem could also be a possible retaliation because they can see a gathering of like potential attack from the south, and it's sort of looking like a success for them. So they might also be encouraged to do something from Bethlehem to target Jerusalem, because that is their aim of the Al-Aqsa storm, which they call as the operation for Hamas. So this is what's happening now.
Right. In terms of the retaliatory action, Emmanuel, that's exactly what I was asking Lauren as well. If you can update us as to what the Israeli Defense Forces are doing in order to liberate some of these areas which are currently set to be under Hamas's control.
Right. So a friend of mine was actually called in to be deployed as reserve forces. So these are people who are actually served in the Israeli army, and now they live common lives. But during the kinds of emergency like this, they've been called into reserve forces, and many young people about the age of 20 to 25 are actually called back into their into their army bases, and they're all traveling right now to join the fight down in the south. And he actually had to go and save his family who are in Sderot, which was a city which was almost half occupied by the militants and terrorists, and now that place has a lot of Israeli army right now swarming around, trying to regain control of the situation there.
Okay, Emmanuel, stay on with us. Lauren is also with us. She's joining us live as well from Jerusalem at the moment. Lauren, as Emmanuel was saying, reservists are being called in at the moment by the Israeli Defense Forces. This is a very grave situation, and what many across the world are asking is, was Israel caught napping on the wheel?
Yes, so it's an excellent question. 50 years and 1 day ago was the Yom Kippur War, when Israel was surprised by an enemy attack. And 50 years later, we've been surprised again. This was an attack that did catch us on the back foot. Israel was not prepared, especially for the degree to which we've been attacked. And all sources actually were expecting that there would be an attack from the north, to be honest. But the surprise attack from the south has gotten us a little bit behind the 8 ball. So Israel is right now trying to catch up and make up ground in order to ensure that we protect Israeli lives and stop the murders and the hostage-taking situation in the south. It's very unfortunate that this happened, because it does seem It does. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, go on.
It does seem that we were caught wrong-footed, and now we are scrambling to make up time and try and stop the violence and the bloodshed in the south.
Right. Lauren, just for the benefit of viewers here in India who are watching you and your reports at the moment, when you say that you possibly anticipated something in the north and, it came from the south, when you explain the topography of Israel itself, when you mean the north, what are you talking about, just for the benefit of our viewers?
When we speak about the north, we're speaking about the Lebanese border with Hezbollah in the north.
Right.
And this is where, for a while, we've been expecting an attack, which is why the attack in the south is so surprising on the Gaza border.
Okay, so that was very, very surprising at the moment. In terms of the response that has been, obviously there's military action that's taking place. We're also hearing some very disturbing reports at the moment, Emmanuel, of Israelis being taken hostage and probably being moved into the Gaza Strip.
Yes, that's true. We've had about over 50 civilians being taken over from Israeli settlements in the Gaza Strip area and taken into Gaza. But not only are the Israeli citizens taken, I'm talking about women, elderly, children being taken into Gaza, and about even a few soldiers have been captured and also taken across Gaza. And this looks like an effort by Hamas to actually maybe even use them as a bargaining chip to free up the the higher up leaders who have been detained and arrested for over 10-20 years in Israeli prisons.
Right. Okay, Emmanuel, we seem to have some trouble with your line over there, but I did catch the bulk of your response over there. It is an escalating situation, especially because, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described it, this is a state of war, unprecedented, as Lauren said, not seen in the last 50 years, did not see it coming this morning. Lauren and Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us live.